Hello Silver Sisters, this is Joli from QuickSilverHair, and today I wanted to share all about my life with curly hair. When it became curly, when I learned about the curly girl method, products, hairstyles, how things have changed when I ditched the dye, etc. So let's get started. When I was a kid, I had a soft C-shaped wave pattern. It wasn't curly, it wasn't straight, but it definitely had a bend to it. My memories of my hair as a kid are, far and few between, but I do have a couple that stand out. One of which was having the Dorothy Hamill haircut and the many tears I shed in the mornings when my stepmother would try to brush it into submission. And of course, by the time I got home from school, it was no longer in that cute little Dorothy Hamill bowl shape. The next thing I remember is at about 11, my stepmother decided to perm my hair, and we quickly discovered why you do not perm a child's hair with a home perm, or at least, not back then. And that was that it fried my hair, fried my scalp, and I started getting breaking and hair loss. I ended up with a severe pixie cut right before I started 5th grade, which I can remember not being very happy about because I was one of those girls that always wanted long, luxurious hair. So that really was when I took control of my own hairstyle. The irony to the perm is that after it started growing in from the pixie cut, it came in curly. And it was definitely had a spiral to it. The wave was much curlier. I had moved from that soft C shape to the 2C, 3A zone of curl. I used to joke that permanent was definitely permanent. We're not sure what happened. It might have been the chemical damage from the perm. It might have been approaching puberty. It might have been a combination of the two things. Whatever the reason, I ended up with curly hair at that point. And I let it grow. I let it grow out to about the length that it is now, maybe a little longer. And in my senior year in high school, I decided to chop it all off. So I had a cute little A-line cut. I loved that cut. I loved how my curl bounced up, and I really enjoyed the style and everything, but I didn't maintain it for very long. I can remember just kind of letting it continue to grow back out. And at that time, products were, Aussie products from Walmart, because that's, what I had available to me in a small town. I didn't really know much about taking care of it except that curly hair needed moisture. And at some point I had a stylist tell me to only wash my hair every other day. So I remember that was, a valuable piece of information that I picked up early on. In my mid-20s, I found out about ABBA, and that was a product line that I fell in love with. That was the first time I really experienced products that were really nourishing to curly hair and enhancing, and I just loved them. They were hard to get and eventually impossible to get, so I had to shift into another product line, which I think one of the first ones I remember after ABBA was Matrix had a product called Curl System or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It was, of course, discontinued, but it was one of the first product lineups I had ever seen where, it was a numbered system. 1 was shampoo, 2 was conditioner, 3 was leave-in, and then the 4, 5, and 6s were the different styling products that you needed depending on what kind of curl pattern you had. In 2002, I was in a Barnes & Noble and found Curly Girl, the handbook, and I began my journey with the Curly Girl method. At that time, the first edition of the book, it was no sulfates, no silicones, no drying alcohols, no waxes or mineral oils, and no heat or brushing. So I really embraced this philosophy. My first fail was that I could not co-wash my hair. The minute I tried to use no shampoo at all, I had scalp buildup that would make me itch. So co-washing wasn't something I was ever able to do successfully for more than a day or two. It would build up pretty quickly. So that was my first curly girl method fail. But because it was no sulfates, I just found no sulfate-free shampoo. And I remember looking for products at that time. There weren't very many on the market that met all of this criteria. I remember finding Joli Curl at that time that was, met all of the criteria of the curly girl method. I talked to Jessie on the phone because they had just launched the website and it was having technical difficulties, so I had to call to place an order. And she was so sweet. She sent me a trial size of the entire line as a gratuitous gift for all the struggle I was having with ordering. I tried everything. I really liked Joli Curl, but it wasn't quite a fit for me. So no offense, Joli Curl, but you were the beginning of my product junkie life. I really started looking for products that met the criteria of curly girl method, which back then was not easy. There was only a handful of products out there that met all of that. Even in the health food store, sulfates were still allowed in shampoos at that time in the health food store, which now generally you don't find sulfates in shampoos at the health food store anymore. However, silicones were allowed in those products and still are. I remember this hunt for the holy grail of products. I've since learned that you cannot have a holy grail of products because the market changes, products changes, there's, discontinuations, there's reformulations, your hair changes, the weather changes, everything is in a constant changing state. So you can't have a holy grail. And it was, it's kind of ironic that that was the name of the ultimate lineup because no one's ever found the holy grail. Anyway, I continued on through many different product lines. And of course, I would find a good lineup and I would use it until either my hair decided not to like it anymore, or I became sensitive to something, or, product formulations, reformulations, and so forth. Fast forward to around 2015 when I ditched the dye. My hair was short then because during ditching the dye, I cut it really short. But after all the dye was cut off and I started growing it out again, I decided I wanted long silver hair. So as I was growing it out, I really noticed that my curl pattern had changed quite a bit. Now, one more time, I had a double whammy. I had ditched the dye, so I was no longer doing any chemical damage to my hair. But I also went through surgical menopause, so I no longer had my natural hormones anymore. There was something I found out a little bit about that was kind of interesting just recently, and that was that whatever your hair pattern was before puberty is probably what your hair pattern will be after menopause, which makes complete sense because, in between those two times, the female body is making a boatload of hormones for making babies and so forth, so the hair changes. And even during pregnancy, women notice that their curl will change while they have the differences in hormones for the pregnancy. So I found that very fascinating, and it helped me kind of calm down a little bit about the changes in my hair and just embrace that it is what it is. The Andre Walker curl typing system is something that I wanted to talk about here because I don't find it to be very helpful for me. I never really did because I have multiple hair types on one head, and I think a lot of people have this experience. Those of you who don't know what the Andre Walker curl system is, I'm gonna put a picture up here. For me, I have straight hair. I have 2A, 2B, and 2C, and I used to have 3A. Every now and then one of them will pop out. I have little sections of hair that are straight. I have the under section where my hair is brown is a completely different texture and different curl pattern than the silver hair that has turned white. Curl typing system kind of, it does give you that visual aid, but it doesn't tell me anything about what products I should be buying. Because of that, I really started looking at ingredients and what those ingredients do and how they work for the hair and what type of hair they work for. As my silvers got longer, the pattern of course started to loosen even more, and product became this elusive thing for me. I just seemed to never be able to find what I was actually wanting. One pivotal moment for me in embracing my silver hair and its pattern was posting in a curl group, not for silver hair, but just a curl group in general. And I posted a picture of me with just the back of my hair showing. And I asked if anybody knew of a curl enhancing leave-in. Not one person gave me a product recommendation, but they all came and said, your hair is absolutely beautiful. Your curl's amazing. Your silver is really wonderful. And I sat there and I looked through all those comments and I really absorbed that no one had a product recommendation for me, and everyone thought my hair was fine the way it was. So it really sunk in that we chase this ideal pattern or curl type that we may not have, our hair may not be able to achieve, and no product in a bottle will make it some other curl type. It's just not going to do that. It's going to do what it wants to do the way it wants to do it. And we're very self-critical in comparing ourselves to others and comparing ourselves to what we think we should have. That post really brought it home for me that my hair was fine the way it was, and I did not need to enhance it. I didn't need to chase after some perfect curl pattern or whatever. The next pivotal moment for me was same group. Curly girl method is gel, gel, gel. You gotta find your gel. When I lined all that up, I realized it was the definition of insanity. It was totally the definition of insanity. I was chasing something that I could not find, my hair didn't want, so I let go. I put down all gel at that point and tried just foams and mousses. Mousses. Is that a word? Mousses? Anyway, I tried any product I could find in a foam format. And for a little while that worked. The Giovanni foams were my favorites at that point. I did eventually find a gel that I love, and I'll link that below. It's from Loma. But this all kind of taught me that as your hair changes, it's easier to embrace your hair than it is to fight it. For years, I had this photo from Etsy that was a little card that a woman on Etsy was selling, and it said, "Embrace your messy hair." And, she's totally right. Just embrace it. Embrace what it is. Now, it doesn't mean you have to walk around, all frizzy and fried and dry and all that. You can still take care of your hair. But laying all of these expectations on it based on what you see out there in social media and Instagram and YouTube, that's not going to help you feel your best. So my best advice in that regard, from everything I've learned since I ditched the dye and embraced this version of my wavy hair, is just take the best care of it you possibly can. That's all you can do, I mean, I air dried my hair for years. I never used a brush for years because of Curly Girl method. And just in the last 2 years, I bought a brush. I started brushing my hair again because long hair is so much easier to detangle when it's dry and when it is brushed. So right before I take a shower sometimes, and I don't always do this, but sometimes if it's already lost most of its curl shape, I will run a brush through it, and it feels so good to have my scalp brushed and, get that follicular stimulation on the scalp, which is good for hair growth. So, there's another place where I kind of failed Curly Girl method. And then inside of looking for the correct products that worked for me and made my hair feel and look its best, in my opinion, I had to embrace that there might be silicones in those products. There might be waxes in those products. There might be a little bit of drying alcohol somewhere in the product. I avoid mineral oil 100% because it's a petroleum-based product, so that wasn't a big deal for me. No sulfates is no big deal, you know, because you can find easily now shampoos with no sulfates. That is the best advice I can give you, is embrace your hair. Treat it how it wants to be treated and how you want it to look for you. The rules are yours. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and wherever you are in the world today, shine on.